All right, guys, welcome into AL.com recruiting. It's May 12th. We have a great recruit today to break down. I'm your host, Simone Eli, alongside Ben Thomas, covers high school football and high school really everything for AL.com. Behind the scenes, we have Patrick Greenfield. He is running everything, producing this great show. We appreciate you joining us today. We are talking a big-time Auburn prospect in Caden Story, the defensive end over at Lanett High School, a school that's done really, really well. A couple state titles here in the last couple of years. Caden Story, of course, plays for his dad and has a brother who's over at Alabama. So a lot of great angles with this story, if you will. And Ben, I know that you have covered this family, Caden, his brother Kristen, and their father quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of a legacy family in Alabama. I mean obviously his brother Christian Story was Mr. Football 2 years ago in the state, signed with Alabama, is at Alabama now, led him to a state championship. His dad, Clifford Story, is the coach at Lanett. And Caden is another top prospect from this family. He's a 4-star defensive end, as you can see there. We're watching some highlights from him. He really is kind of a two-way player. He could be a tight end as well at the next level. A little different frame, obviously, than Christian Story, who was smaller and is going to be a defensive back. But great family. Really enjoy talking to all these kids and their family and their dad as well.
Absolutely. I enjoyed talking to Caden, and we really talked about everything. You know, it's been a crazy COVID year when it comes to recruiting. These upcoming seniors really haven't gotten a chance to be on campus and get an opportunity to see these schools with their own two eyes. So that's one thing that he is really, really looking forward to. So I asked him to give us an update on his recruiting as of right now and what he's looking forward to here when June and July come into play. You personally, how has recruiting been going? I know things have been tough because COVID has really limited a lot of things, but how is the process for you right now?
At first, things were kind of tough because when I first started getting a lot of offers, I couldn't really just talk to coaches and see what they think or they're from their point of view or what they think about me and things like that. But now things are starting to get easier because I can talk to them more. They can call and FaceTime me whenever. But the recruiting process, it's been fun. It's been stressful, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Official visits are finally going to start picking back up here next month. How excited are you for that? And do you have any planned right now?
And since they told us that, I've been extremely excited. I'm ready. I'm ready for June. That's all I've been talking about. I have 3 officials set up, which are the 3 schools are Central Florida, Auburn, and Texas A&M. I go to Central Florida on June 11th through the 13th. Then I go to Auburn on June 18th through the 20th. Then Texas A&M on the 24th through the 26th. I'll probably take the other 2 within September.
Okay. So what will help you make your decision? What are you looking for in a school?
Things that'll help me make my decision are it gotta be a great school first off. You got a great academic program, great coaches, a great facility. And you gotta be all in one, like a family bond. Like I gotta be able to notice. That's gotta be the first thing that I know. I can always come talk to anybody about any situation or anything that I'm going through.
So obviously a kid that knows exactly what he is looking for when it comes to which college he wants to attend at the next level. And Ben, I just love that week after week when we are talking to these guys, UCF has been on the list of many of these prospects. And it looks like Gus Malzahn is really, really trying to keep his hands in the Alabama recruiting game.
Yeah, man, we're trying to get Gus on, Simone. Hopefully he'll come on with us in the coming weeks and talk about his strategy. I think it's really interesting again. Yeah, he's listening, I'm sure. So come on, Gus. You know, we talked to Jeremiah Alexander, and he mentioned Trey Williams specifically, who's on Gus's staff, the former Auburn star, former St. Paul star, as being a key person down there recruiting him. Obviously, Travis Williams is on that staff, Brian Blackman, former Opelika coach. So a lot of Alabama connections. They're trying to hit the state hard, and we'll see if they're successful in drawing any big-time products. At least they're definitely getting some visits down there, which is a start.
You know, one thing I think that I really got the vibe when I was talking to Caden when it comes to Auburn specifically, Ben, is that Coach Harsin has really kind of done what he can given the COVID circumstances. He's gone above and beyond to speak with Caden, to speak with his family when they're able to. And I think that when it comes to official visits, it's really what the glue is for these guys when it comes to where they ultimately want to go. I mean, you got to think it's got to be impossible for guys to make a decision having not stepped foot on campus and really getting the game atmosphere and getting to know these coaches personally.
Yeah, I'm sure for Caden it's a little better because he obviously probably went places with his brother when his brother was going through all this. So he probably has a better foundation than some of these other kids who are just going through the process for the first time. But, I'm just so happy that in June things are going to open up. Kids are going to be able to go out and they're, because last year, Simone, they had to make their choices based on a lot of them never being to campus,
Exactly.
And virtual tours and all that stuff they were doing. So it's going to open up in June, and that's going to help a lot of these kids in our state and otherwise in the nation make educated decisions about whether they want to spend the next 3 or 4 years of their life. It's important.
Yeah. So Caden is the youngest of 5 kids in the Story family. And like you mentioned a minute ago, his brother Christian over at Alabama. And of course, I had to ask him, I said, okay, if you're going to go to Auburn, how is that going to play in regards to the rivalry with your brother over in Tuscaloosa? What will that be like? And it was pretty entertaining, the conversation that we had. But he's also reached out to his brother for advice. Here's what he had to say. You said Auburn is on your list for an official visit. Have you talked to Coach Harsin and Coach Mason? If so, what are those conversations like? And what have you liked about those guys?
I've talked to both of them. What I like the most about both of them, they're real. They keep it real. They might not tell you what you want to hear, but at least they're going to tell you what you need to hear, what you need to work on and things like that. But yeah, our conversation it's about like how I could fit in their program and how special I could be and things like that.
So Auburn on your list and your brother being, at the rival school, of course, over at Alabama. How are those conversations going?
The conversations, sometimes it may get aggressive sometimes, but we're brothers. So of course we want to compete against each other, play against each other. We always say, don't let me catch you slipping or something like that to let him know that like I'm coming with it.
Yeah. I'm sure y'all have been competitive your entire life.
Right.
Well, how is your brother doing, and how is he maybe giving you some advice through this process? I know it can be stressful for anybody going through it.
He's doing great. He's getting adjusted to everything now. So this year he's gonna be ready. But the things he's taught me about the recruiting process, he taught me like how to dictate from the real, from the fake, and how to let me see how I should put it. Not to just look, say for instance, not to just focus on that one coach that you've been talking to. You gotta talk to all the coaches and get to know all the coaches personally and let them know you personally. Yeah. Because you never know what could happen with that one coach.
I think that's such sound advice. And one thing that I just really appreciated from Caden is that he just kept it real. A lot of guys will give a fluff answer, when you're asked that, okay, what type of advice are you getting from your brother or from people who have gone through this recruiting process? And they'll just kind of give you the runaround, oh yeah, well, he says, to look for this and make it sure it feels like a family. But he straight up said, hey, don't get glued into one coach, because ultimately that one coach could be somewhere else the next year. And God knows that happens over at Alabama because everyone wants a piece of the Tide and they're leaving every day. I mean, I think that's such great and sound advice from older brother to younger brother going through this process, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, I remember talking to Caden last year when he first got the Auburn offer, and I think Christian was in the background when I was doing the phone interview, and I said, could you really see yourself playing on the opposite side of the iron ball from Christian? And he said, well, yeah, I could. And Christian, you could hear Christian kind of descending in the background, but that's going to be a fun story to follow. I hear a lot from a lot of prospects, Simone, that they like to hear the real truth from coaches. I mean, of course, we know that the coaches are going to praise them. They want them to commit to their school, but a lot of the guys, these top guys, like to hear, look, this is what you need to do. This is how we can make you better, and that type thing. And the more and more I hear of Alabama, Auburn, those coaches are trying to tell them the truth and not just trying to blow smoke and get them to commit. They want them to be the best players they can. And I think that's a good thing that he's listening to.
Yeah, you saw some of those stats just a moment ago that Patrick had pulled up for us, and it clearly shows that he has made a huge impact at the high school level. Seems like, I mean, look at I know it's 2A, but he's making a huge impact on the field as well. And one thing I talked to Caden about is that now that his brother is gone, he really is the leader of this team, and he's really going to embrace this team as his own, Ben. And I really think that in that final year, especially when it comes to football, even during your junior season, when you make that jump to your senior season is really when you start to develop that leadership aspect that you kind of carry over into the next level. And that's something that he was really discussing with me, Ben, when it comes to what he's looking forward to his senior year. Now that Christian is on to the next level, do you kind of feel like this is your team now? I mean, I know he was a huge leader. You obviously had a big leadership role, especially on the defensive side, but you being a senior going into your final year, are you kind of like taking on that role of like, hey, these are my guys?
Yes, man. I've taken on that role to step up and will become a better leader and be more vocal and let my actions speak for himself. And yes, I feel like it's my team because it's my senior year, and I've been on the varsity team playing football since the 8th grade. And now that it's my turn to shine, I feel like this is my team.
Anything particular that you're working on, looking to improve in your final year in high school?
I'm looking to improve on like learning more football, learning the game of football better. And working on my pass rushing ability, coming off the ball, getting bigger, faster, stronger, being quicker with my hands, using my hands more. You can always improve.
Now, I don't want to ignore the fact that he does have a Texas A&M official visit in there as well. So, Ben, do you think it's likely that we could see him at an SEC school that's not named Auburn?
Yeah, but I would say it'd probably be in the same state. I mean, I would think he's an Auburn or Alabama guy based on where his brother is. I mean, you never know, though. I will say this. It strikes me, Simone, that you mentioned that he's in 2A. You know, his brother played in 2A. It just proves that, you know, colleges are going to find you if you can play. I mean, Emmanuel Henderson, who we talked to on our show a couple of weeks ago, is from 2A Geneva County. He's committed to Alabama. So these guys are going to find you no matter where you are. It's going to be intriguing to watch and see what he does. You know, Lanett, without Christian last year, Lanett still went up a classification. They won the state championship in 1A when Christian was a senior. They went up to 2A. Last year they were 10-3 and lost to the quarterfinals to Leroy. So they were still a factor there. And also we should mention that Caden, like his brother, plays basketball, and he helped their basketball team to the state finals this year. So he's a multi-sport guy. We'll see if he graduates early, which is kind of a trend now. But he's a great multi-sport athlete. Could play tight end or defensive end in college, depending on where each college wants him.
Yeah, it's funny you say tight end or defensive end, because if you look at his huddle, he lists himself as a quarterback. He has quarterback and defensive end. So, I got a kick out of that a little bit because, of course, everyone wants to have their hands on the ball. And I'm sure that dad, coach, maybe put him in that spot once or twice. But it'd be pretty funny to see a big old body like that there at the quarterback spot.
Yeah, I think when I talked to him last year after Christian, because Christian was the quarterback, obviously, among the other positions he played. And when I talked to him last summer, he was thinking he was going to be the quarterback. So I don't think that turned out. They did just fine with him playing defensive end and playing on the offensive line. But he's not going to follow his brother in that regard, I don't think.
Yeah, no doubt.
Might put him in a big
point. What's that?
I said they might put him in like a big cat format, and hike it to him.
No doubt. We've seen that before for sure. But I think you brought up a great point about Lanett being 2A. I definitely wasn't saying that to diss on Lanett. I have a ton of respect for guys who do well at the 1, 2A, 3A level and stay with their high school. They don't get too big where they feel like they need to branch out or go transfer over to a 7A or 6A school to get more eyes on them. They just really make do with their small town, smaller school mentality, and they make the best of it. And like you said, I mean, guys are getting picked up. What classification is Gordo in? Again, just not like one of those big upper echelon schools. We're talking about with Thompson and Hoover, but we're seeing these guys get picked up even out kind of in that rural Alabama area.
Yeah, Gordo's 4A. Yeah, I mean, it just because so many colleges come into Alabama and recruit, Simone. I mean, we've seen kids go to Stanford, go to West Virginia, all over the nation from Alabama, and people know that Alabama has good football players, and they're going to continue to recruit. It doesn't matter what level you play at; they know if you can play.
Yep.
It's most of them. They've watched the film, and certainly they know Caden Story can play.
Yeah, Ben, we spoke on the phone a little bit ago when we were discussing some recruiting things that have happened throughout the state this week. Can you update us on something? I know not a lot has happened, but there are a couple things that you're keeping your eye on.
Yeah, I mean, not much general high school recruiting. I do think there, we know in the transfer portal, Tony Fair, who's in the transfer portal from UAB, is supposed to decide today in an hour or two about Auburn, Purdue, Ole Miss. He's going to choose one of those. Auburn is apparently the favorite there. And, a local guy from Mobile, Jordan Ingram, who went to St. Paul, Simone, you and I saw him play, and he signed with Central Michigan. He's in the transfer portal. And I don't know where he's going to go, but I would keep an eye out for an SEC offer from him, maybe even an in-state SEC offer. Jordan Ingram, he's a running back. I don't know where he'll end up. Auburn needs some running back depth behind Tank Bigsby and Sean Shivers, so maybe he could end up there. But just a couple of things to keep your eye on, this end of this week and maybe into next week.
Yeah. Hats off to Brian Harsin, who seems to be getting it done, not only in in-state recruiting, but trying to get guys who have quite a bit of experience, have done well in the college level already, getting his hand in that transfer portal. That's the thing to do when you got to come here and be at Auburn. It's a tough job, and I think that he is off to the right start. Luckily, I think we're going to have him on the show here in the next couple of weeks from what I'm told, so that will be a great get. We'll get to kind of pick his brain when it comes to recruiting.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear just to see what he talks about recruiting wise, what his philosophy is. Do they have a target area, that type thing? Because I haven't heard him speak about that much. I'm sure he has, but I'd like to get his thoughts just on recruiting aside from Auburn and what he's got currently right now. What are your, what's your philosophy of recruiting, and how's that? How should we see that going forward?
Yep, definitely. All right, guys, great show today. Caden Story potentially headed to Auburn, but he's also going to go check out Central Florida, going to check out Texas A&M, a lot of good options. His brother over at Alabama. Maybe don't consider Alabama completely out of the mix. You never know. Sometimes Nick Saban swoops in and makes things happen pretty quickly late in the game, but something to keep an eye on. We'll have Brian Harsin on the show here in the next couple of weeks. And, of course, stick with our big-time recruits here in the state of Alabama. Highlight them week after week right here on AL.com. Recruiting. For Ben Thomas, Patrick Greenfield, I'm Simone Eli. Everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday. Hopefully things dry out here in the state of Alabama. Have a good day.